I don't know. I don't know. My beard looks phenomenal. This is a.
I was just gonna say that. Did you shower today? Like,
Wait,
holy.
did I shower today? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Did I? I might have. I don't know.
This guy's called the Standing Streamer. Real stand-up kind of guys.
Hey, everybody, Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret, and you're watching Putting You Over.
So that'd be fun. And then we have Jimmy Jacobs coming on about 10:15. He is an interesting cat as well. 12-year vet, most notably Ring of Honor. Now wrote for WWE. Now he's in Impact, on-screen character. He does the after show after the Impact show on Twitch. I forget what it's called though, but he'll tell us. So that'll be good. And man, he had some stuff to say too about depression and dealing with stuff like that. That like blew my mind today when I heard it, because I'm like, wow, that's all you had to do. That's all you have to do is change some wording. So that's what it'll be. Guests will come in at 9:30. We'll try and talk a little wrestling either in between, before, or after. But that's the that's the gimmick, brother. We'll get him to rant.
Yeah, I've been on.
Oh, he's on. Why don't I see him?
I just noticed that there's 2 participants. I was just going to message him and be like, hey, pop in anytime.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do I not have it on gallery view? You know what, Jimmy? I'm not very professional. Give me 1 second.
I don't think he doesn't have his audio or his video on. That's why you don't see him.
Does he want to do video or no?
I can do video. Hold on. Let me put on a shirt.
This is a wrestling show. Like, we had just had the Von Erichs on and they didn't have shirts on.
Oh, what's up, sir?
What's going on, dude?
Oh, yeah. No, that's not the right one. That's the right one. It's going well. Our first guest didn't show up, but maybe, we were saying that happens sometimes. Things, especially in today's day and age, things come up, and it's all right. But you're here, and you're looking phenomenal, and I'm honored to have you on. We could go through your resume. You've a veteran. I know you from Ring of Honor, 10 plus years, maybe 12 plus years, tag team champions over there. Did you always grow up a wrestling fan? Was it big in your household? Did you always want to be a wrestler?
Yeah, so I grew up, I have one older brother, and he really liked wrestling. And I guess when you're a younger brother, you just like what your older brother likes.
Yeah.
And so I got into wrestling. My first wrestling memory is of Mr. Perfect running a perfect game of pool. So
those vignettes. Yeah.
I think that was like 89.
Yeah. Yep.
The first live event I went to was 91, headlined by Warrior and Slaughter in a steel cage. And I wanted to be a wrestler from a pretty young age, and I got into wrestling at a pretty young age. I started when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
Yep. And so it's been 21 years now, and still doing it.
Still doing what when so I knew you got in at a young age at 15. What did your 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 parent when was that aha moment when you're like, this is what I want to do, and what was their reaction?
My parents were not very supportive of the idea of me being a professional wrestler, especially at such a young age.
Yeah.
I just sort of tagged along with my older brother. He
Yeah.
wanted to be a pro wrestler, and he found a school in Grand Rapids, Michigan back in 98. And I went to the school the first day with him to check it out. And I just sort of tagged along with him and would do whatever odd jobs I could of, setting up chairs and setting up the ring. And I would, bring my video camera and record the show. And I would like make these like rudimentary websites for the wrestlers on Angel Fire.
Angel
and,
Fire. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then there was an opportunity for me to referee on a show because the other referee was, on vacation. And so I did that. And that started me, refereeing on shows, and which led to me wrestling on shows. And here I am.
Yeah, I've gotten that a lot with independent wrestlers and people that especially started young. Do whatever it takes, be around the guys, set up the ring, take down the ring, ref, all that stuff. Somebody else started out really young at 15 too. I can't remember. We just had him on, but so you start out, you're following in your older brother's footsteps. Or yeah. Well, did anything come of him?
He became a math professor. He got his PhD from Dartmouth University
Nice.
in mathematics, and so
Yeah, he
that's
didn't
what
want to. Yeah,
he was a pretty talented performer. More talented than me in a lot of ways, certainly more athletic. And he was starting to sort of make his rounds in independence in 2000 ish. There's a short picture of him on CM Punk's WWE DVD with him and Punk like locked up in the corner back when they used to wrestle together in 2000. But yeah, then academia became his pursuit, and the irony of it all was that I was a smart young child, and my brother was a wild, rambunctious child who just wanted nothing more to be a pro wrestler, and he ended up being the math professor, and I ended up being the pro wrestler. So
Yeah.
life is full of ironies.
Yeah, that's interesting. Our first guest that was supposed to come on about 9:30, Kenny Johnson. He does a bunch of wrestling documentaries, and it's interesting because that would be a nice documentary to learn about you and your brother. How he was rambunctious, wanted nothing more than to be in the ring, and now he's doing great work, teaching, professor, all that fun stuff. That would be interesting. It would have been a good transition. But as I said, I first stumbled upon you on, I think it was Ring of Honor. I think it was, oh gosh, you were doing Age of the Fall with Tyler Black, then Seth Rollins now. Age of the Fall then. But I mean, you did a lot of great classic angles, stables, a lot of great stuff in Ring of Honor. What's the biggest thing that you took away from your Ring of Honor tenure?
I mean, it was such a unique time in my life, and I think a unique time in the business.
Yeah.
Just in that, I don't think we'll ever have a platform like that with dedicated fans, with also the freedom that we had. We didn't have to answer to anybody. There was no TVs, there's no sponsors, there's nothing like that to answer to. So we had a ton of creative freedom and a large platform, which is two things that you don't really see a whole lot. There's always different masters to serve as you get higher up in a bigger platform. And so my time there was it was about 10 years. And I started when I was 19 with the company.
Wow.
And it was a lot of ups and downs. It was very emotional for me at the time because I was so dedicated to being this professional wrestler that, when you have that amount of, let's say passion for something, oftentimes you can get your emotional strings pulled. And so it was a lot of ups and downs. And a lot of stuff I'm proud of, a lot of cool stuff I look back on and go, oh man, that was cool. We got to do that. And there's a part of me that goes, never again would I be so easily dragged around
Yeah.
by something external, where it's like life and death. If you don't get this angle, get this push, or get this match, and how you're being presented, and all that sort of stuff. Great for my 20s. Would never trade the peace of mind I have now, that I now have in my 30s.
I want to get back to the wrestling, but you said peace of mind, so I'm going to veer off for a little bit. I was doing my research on you, and I heard you in some other podcasts, and you said some things, peace of mind, getting in touch with yourself, that related so well with me, and I was just so blown away. You talked about basically changing the definition of depression and how that basically turned your life around. Unless I mean, if I'm speaking online, let me know. But you changed the definition of depression. Can you let us in on that a little bit?
Well, yeah. So that happened about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
As this thing they're calling COVID-19 started happening, and I moved to Phoenix, where I don't know anybody. Like right when it happened, in the middle of March, and so I had this opportunity to either collapse into myself or to work on myself. And one of the things that came into my life was Wim Hof method. Wim Hof is this 61-year-old badass from Holland that holds the Guinness Book of World Records for being under ice water for the longest, and he's went to the top of what's
Mount Everest.
Mount Everest, just wearing nothing but shorts and no shoes on. He's a real badass. He's got this breathing technique, and in the interest of working in my health, I started doing this breathing technique, and the effects it started to have, just the acute effects of what happens when you do it, made me start to realize that I don't really think about my body.
Yeah.
That I'm completely ignorant how my body, mind, soul complex works. And so as I started to learn more about that, and I've been on this sort of spiritual journey for the past 3 years, but as I started to connect more with my body, I started to look at this thing that I had called depression for the past, I don't know how long that I've had depression, let's say, quote unquote, but certainly I'd been on antidepressants for the past 10 years. And then stopping and looking at that and going, what is this thing called depression? What is this thing I'm labeling depression? And I changed the story, and we have the ability to do that. Our lives, what we're experiencing in our lives is a point of view. It's a perspective. It's actually not reality as such. It's a perspective and a point of view. So I can take a perspective and say I'm depressed, which is the perspective I took for 10 years. And then I can change that perspective with the same set of facts and say, instead of I am depressed, which is just by saying that, you identify as a depression. I am depressed. That is what I am. I am depressed. But if you change that language and go, sometimes I experience low energy, which is generally how depression sort of manifested for me. Low energy, low motivation. Just I used to spend 22 hours a day in bed, and so going, okay. So sometimes I experience low energy, which means that all I have to do is tap into the energy of this universe that's already available. Like we live in a universe of nothing but energy vibrating different frequencies. Yeah. And so you go, okay, how do I tap into this energy that's already here, that's already in my body, that's already, in my chakras, all this sort of thing. And going on that journey and getting off antidepressants was a completely transformative one. I feel better now than I ever have in my life. And some days I every once in a while, I have a little bit of low energy. And I go, okay, I know where I can get that energy from. I know how I can move my body. I know how I can meditate. I know how I can breathe to gain access to that energy. And you start to realize that, these stories that we hold on to, the story of depression, it's a story where I'm a victim from the external world. Like there's something and it's happening to me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And we, in our society today, we hold so tightly to some of those stories. Sometimes you go, well, these external forces, they just got me where I can't do anything about it. And you go, no, And there's a long time I wasn't ready to let go of the story of I'm depressed. I wasn't ready to let go of that story. Get off antidepressants. Like, oh, what happens? I mean, the antidepressants, they sort of work. What happens if I get off? What happens if I jump out of this plane? Is this parachute going to open or not? And you go, well, at some point, maybe you got to jump out of the plane and figure out if you can fly.
Right. Yeah, I related well with that, man. I loved it. I love the fact that changing the definition and realizing that depression, quote unquote, as you said, uh, doesn't have to control us. Like we can take we can take it and change our breathing, change our energy levels and all that stuff.
Change our diets, change
Yeah.
our one of the things I hear a lot of times when you're depressed, it's like, oh, you need to exercise. It's like, yeah, good luck. You're too depressed to do anything about it. But I found that I can do things laying in bed. I can do different breathing techniques. I can pound on my chest. I can slap my arms, and you can start to wake up the chi, the life force moving through your body. And so we've come into a world now where we've dulled ourselves down so much. We eat all this processed food, and we're glued to our phones, and we're glued to our computers. We're cut off from other human beings, and it's like, yeah, no wonder the levels of depression are going up.
Yeah.
We've completely disconnected ourselves from nature. We've completely, and when I say nature, I don't just mean Mother Earth. I mean the nature of being a human. We've completely disconnected from that because we've taken these conveniences of life and we've become docile because of that. And we take these conveniences and there's a trade-off, and you don't even know what that trade-off is because you've never even thought about it, because you were just born into this world. You were born into this world where you have a bed and a house and you wear clothes, not having any idea of what it means to have your bare feet on the ground and what that does, and the effects that has on your body, just reconnecting with Mother Earth. Wearing clothes, which by means your body has become weaker and less adept. Years ago, you were outside and that was it. You were in the elements, so your body adapted. But now our bodies are weaker because of it, and we have no idea about these things because we think our perspective is reality, and it's not. And there's a lot of things that you can do to start to take care of yourself that don't involve putting a pill in your mouth or going to a doctor. This is, we're just, yeah, we're in this world where we think that there's only one way to live, and there's not. And I would challenge people, whatever they're struggling with in life, to get out of the point of view and the perspective they're in and go, okay, there is a solution to this problem. All things in this world have poles, right? To every problem there is a solution. I mean, that's the law of nature.
It's and born into it. What you just said right there, being born into it. I have three daughters. One's 3, so she's kind of a toddler still, but the others are 11 and 8, and they're glued to their the TV, or they're glued to an iPad, and I have to kick them out of the house all the time. Like, I just say, get out, and just go. And so I definitely relate with that. My wife is also a pharmacist, so I know there's a lot of times she'll suggest to myself, well, you're really anxious. You have your anxiety is off the charts. I'm an anxious person sometimes, and she'll suggest that I should get on something to deal with this. I am of the belief that I don't need to and have to. I can find the way, like what you've been saying. But how would you combat the people that do? They're so rigid on all right, you have anxiety, you have OCD, you have this. Here you go. Here's your prescription. Take it.
Well, look, antidepressants held space for me for a very long
Yeah.
time before I found myself capable of having the will to start to be responsible for my own health. And that's a lot of what this comes down to, is being responsible for your own health. And look, the way the the pharmaceutical industry works, it's not to heal you, it's to make you a customer. That's how the business works. And if you look how the pharmaceutical the business was sort of propagated in our society about 100 years ago, you start to see who you're putting your faith in and what you're putting your faith in, and you're going, well, what are these things I'm putting in my body? Well, I have no idea. Okay, I have no idea. But somebody else says I should do it. Who is this somebody else? Where are you putting your responsibility? Where are you going, yeah, you know what? This guy over here says it's fine, so it's fine. And we do that all the time. We do that all the time in our lives, is that we outsource knowledge to other people. And in doing that, we become susceptible to things. So I would suggest to somebody who's, and look, not that there's not a space for pharmaceuticals, not that there's not a space, entirely, but when you start to just do some experimentation, some research, with your own body, and see how your body works, and going, where is this anxiety coming from?
Yeah.
What is it telling me? I did a two-part thing about anxiety in particular. Look, one of the natural laws is that everything on this physical plane first starts from the mental plane. So you have to start to realize that an anxiety does come from here first. Now maybe it's on a subconscious level, or maybe it's on a conscious level. Anxiety can start from catastrophizing, or worrying about the future, excessively worrying about the future, and just projecting all these things into the future. And you go, well, I'm the one whose mind it is, right? Yeah. And so I can start to learn to see when I'm catastrophizing, when I'm projecting, and what these triggers are, and start to go, okay, I'm starting to become aware of when these triggers are. And now I can develop and learn certain tools to bring myself back to center when the anxiety starts to happen, when this thing starts to show up. You go, oh, okay, this anxiety is happening. That's what I'll say all the time. Oh, some judgment came up, or some anger came up, and you start to look at it, and you start to see, what is this thing trying to tell me? What is this anxiety? And you go, well, because I'm worried about the future. I'm projecting out in the future. And you can start to, use your reason and logic pretty quickly to go, well, worrying is never going to do anything. Worrying is it's a waste. It's
waste of time.
All it does is put stress on my body, and stress is terrible for your body, especially that kind of stress. You activate your sympathetic nervous system, is basically what happens, which is basically this false fight or flight response, false survival mode. And having that continuously going through your body creates a lot of stress. And what does stress create? Disease, dis-ease. And so you want to ease the stress, ease the tension, right? And so there are different methods. I talked about, there's a ton of breathing techniques, and people like sometimes look at this stuff, or maybe they have it in their head, oh, this isn't enough. Oh, that's not going to do the trick. Well, it's like breathing is the thing that this cycle that keeps us alive. And if people start to understand the importance of breathing and proper breathing, and the way breathing can be harnessed. I mean, when I started doing this Wim Hof method, I was like, holy crap, I can do this for 15 minutes and my body feels like I'm having a whole body orgasm. Like, what is going on here? Yeah. What is this thing that's happening where I can hold my breath for 3 minutes after exhaling? Oh, because I'm oxygenating the blood in my body, so my body doesn't need this oxygen right away. And you go, what? Like, how much can I do through just breathing? And just one of the basic principles I went over in the video is just, if you exhale longer than you inhale, it starts to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system that calms you down and basically tells your brain, like, hey, I'm out of danger, which is basically what anxiety is. It's your mind, creating a physiological response that you're somehow in danger, and going, okay. And so it just, a lot of it is levels of awareness, is start to be aware when it's happening. And sometimes you'll be aware, anxiety is happening, but you can't do anything about it, or you feel like you can't do anything about it. And so you feed into it. But then the next time, maybe you go, anxiety's happening. Okay, now what am I supposed to do? Okay, if I can go, I'm going to go by myself. I'm going to do this breath work, and you do it for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, who cares? You can take as long as you want. It's your life. It's your health. You're not. This is what this is what you're called to do, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you can start to have that awareness before it happens. You start to go, oh, I'm in a situation right now where anxiety sometimes comes up. Let me be aware of that. And then you can start to cut it off at the pass.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I like to do is prepare myself. Sometimes if I'm going to a thing in situations where I know that I've gotten upset before, I go, hey, somebody might say something that you disagree with. It's nothing personal. You don't have to respond to it with anger, and responding to it with anger isn't going to help anything. What will help is just being calm and cool and rational. And I prepare. And then when I go into the situation and something happens, I can sit back and go, okay, this is a point where I might have experienced anger before, but not now. So there's so many ways to do it, but it takes work. And I'm sorry. I'm not. I was about to apologize for going on this rant, but I'm not sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Because that's part of the, one of these awful symptoms that is going on nowadays is that people don't want to do the work. They want to say, hey, let me take a pill for something, and then it'll all be better.
Yeah.
And it's not just with our, anxiety and depression and things like that. And this isn't to disparage anybody that takes that route. It's like, whatever you do, it's like that. If that works for you, that's fine. But just know there's also other ways. And this easy access, this instant gratification generation that we live in, it's pervasive everywhere. All knowledge basically is at the tip of our fingertips. And you just go, oh, this is,
There it is.
you don't have to work for any knowledge. Yep.
Yeah.
And you see it in our society today, where people don't want to do the work to make the change in the world that they want. It's like, oh God, I don't want to get too political, because I think it's an utter waste of time. I saw a tweet by Joe Biden today saying, me and Kamala Harris are going to work every second to make sure you're to improve your lives. Yeah. And look, I don't support either candidate. Yeah. But I read that and I go, what? Since when's the president's responsibility to make my life better and everybody else's life better? Yeah. It's like, to me, it's like, get out of the way so people can do the work for themselves. That's but that paradigm is just lost, because we go, hey, fix it. Hey, let me. It's literally, you go in a voting booth. What do you, like, press a button or mark something off? Yeah. And then it's like, all right, great. Now you fix the problem. It's like, no, that's not how problems are fixed. Problems are fixed by each person, doing the work, developing the responsibility for their lives. And then once they've sort of started to develop the responsibility for their lives, they can start to take on a greater load. And so, and this isn't disparage anybody. Like, I have these habits too, that sometimes I want things right away. I go on my Uber Eats and I press a button and people just hand me food, as opposed to, what does it mean to take care of yourself? What does it mean? I'm starting a garden. It's not going very well, but I'm trying to figure out, what does it mean to live in communion with Mother Earth, grow my own food, and then prepare my own food. Like, what am I missing out on? I don't even know, because I got handed this system, which is, it's like, great, we live like kings. I press a button and people deliver me whatever food I want at whatever hour I want. But you go, what's the trade-off? What did you trade off? What did you hand off? What did you give up by outsourcing the responsibility of your food to somebody else? And I don't have that answer, But I'm just starting to see that that's the frame of everything. That we've made this deal to have convenience in our life, and we don't know what this deal is. We don't know what we've given up.
Yeah. Well, that was phenomenal, and I feel we could talk.
I was just gonna
yeah.
he said gardening, and
Yeah.
I was in because we have our little garden and stuff. So what are you growing?
Uh, so I had a round of seeds that I planted like maybe 2 months ago, and like nothing came up. So then I was like, well, let me do a little bit of research, and so I saw what sort of plants to grow in Arizona around this time, and so I tried it's like lettuce, I think radishes, carrots, and peas, and
Yep.
it's been a couple weeks, and I've got 3 pea sprouts coming up. That's it. Nothing else on the other plants, but I've got 3 tiny little green things coming out. I'm like, all right, something.
Yeah. Lettuce takes forever. I'll just tell you that. And lettuce likes cold. So if you have like a cold spot in your house anywhere, lettuce likes cold.
Yeah, well, outside in Arizona, it is. It's not.
That's cold.
No, yeah, for sure.
It told me on the internet that you could grow lettuce around mid September, but but that's the thing. You have to experiment with these things from yourself and start to get insight from. I called Brian Danielson. He didn't call me back. I was like, yo, I got a gardening question, bro, because he lives around here and loves to garden. And but yeah, you got to start to figure these things out for yourself and look at different resources, and not just of gardening, but with everything. And that's, I mean, and maybe as I rant about this, a lot of this is just me talking about me.
Yeah.
Because this is what I realized about myself, is that I had outsourced so much to other people, by way of goods and services and information and knowledge. And now that I've seen it in myself, now I see it everywhere. I go, oh, it's like we're all just children, and we want mommy and daddy to make things better for us. And and now that I see it that way, it's hard to unsee it. It's hard to unsee when somebody wants the government to make something better, that's anything but like a child throwing a temper tantrum and going, come on, mom, make sure we're all healthy. It's like, what about making sure you're healthy? What about that now that you're a grown up? And not to say that government has no role or whatever, but just this is just where I'm at in my journey right now. So you caught me on in this month where I'm like, yeah, we need to grow up and take care of.
It's like insulating yourself with a bunch of yes people, like yes sir, yes ma'am, yes. So all my ideas that I say out are yes, 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 and everyone's agreeing with me, and I'm outsourcing everything, and give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Yeah.
We're in a culture where we're basically enabled to not know anything.
Yeah.
And not need to do anything.
Yeah.
And look, there's some benefits to that. You can specialize in very like sort of obscure esoteric things. Like, look, I've made a living, being a pro wrestler and writing wrestling TV. Yeah. It's like amazing. Like I have this very specific skill, and somebody pays me for it, whatever. But that what I see now is like we're not teaching people the foundational stuff.
Yeah.
Like just how to survive, like how to live just in a very basic manner. It really was a wake-up call as everything was starting to go down, where I go, if something really happened, I'd be screwed. I have no idea how to do. I wouldn't last a day out in the world. Without my air conditioning, without my house, without my phone, without everybody doing everything else for me, and me just handing them, made up fiat currency, and going, okay, well, what does it mean to start to take care of myself, and to be able to at least be able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
self-sufficient.
Fend for myself. Yeah, just to be able to fend for myself, and yeah, it was not pretty when I saw it. I go, wow, I am really out of balance. I'm so out of balance that I'm not saying I need to go and live on a self-sustaining homestead, although I've looked at those, man. And
So have I. So have I.
yeah. You go, yes. What about this? What about getting out of this system where they, take whatever 30 or 40% of your income just cause, and like we never signed a deal that said, hey, you can have my income, this percentage of it. We never signed these deals. You go, how does that work then? How does it work that everything is taxed and I haven't made this agreement? You go, well, you use the stuff in the services they provide. You go, yes, some of them, a lot, most of them not. And you go, all right, well, how do I get out of playing this game? How do I get out of playing the game of being subservient and reliant on the system, and reliance really breeds subjugation. You go, they got you by the balls, right?
Yeah.
And we saw that over the past few months, where this system has people by the balls, and they go, oh, well, because they're telling us stuff, we have to do it. And so many people have lost their jobs. So many people are in very rough situations. You go, yeah, I don't know about this game. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm not working anymore, but that's my choice. I'm staying home with the kids.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, yeah. Okay, man.
It's the way it works. But I mean, we could talk about mental health all day on this show. I would love it. That's
mental health, politics, survival. Here I am. Man.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about your creative aspect. And it comes through the screen, the Zoom. It's just coming through your creative mind. You're writing right now and producing for Impact, but you were in the WWE in I think it was 2015. Around that time, but you were the mastermind and the creator of one of the greatest things that I've seen recently, and that's the list with Jericho and Owens and that whole storyline. How does the list come about, and did it take a life of its own?
Yeah, so it was a blast working with Kevin and Chris. Both super creative guys as well, and collaborating with them was such a pleasure. And Kevin is one of my closest friends, and so that I didn't know Chris going into WWE, but we ended up getting on real well. The list came about. We were doing a segment it was in Memphis, Tennessee, and I think this was like fall of 16, I think. And Chris was going to come out and air his grievances about Commissioner Mick Foley.
Yeah.
And I just go, well, if he's going to air his grievances, he should have a list. And then Steve Carino in real life has the Carino shit list, where he's got, people that get on his shit list. And so I go, what if Chris had this list of people who got on his bad side, but he's so petty that he just like puts people on this list for just like the most ridiculous stuff. And at that time, he'd been doing the gift to Jericho, drink it in, man. I go, what if we call this the list of Jericho? Yeah. And I came up with it. I was like, man, I think we can do so much with this. And I pitched it to Chris, and he got it right away. And I had pictured the list being like a crumpled up piece of paper he would keep in his tights, and he'd like pull it out. And he came up with the idea of it being this clipboard that it was very visual and we could see. And he came up with, a lot of the stuff that really brought it to light. He'd grab his pen. You know what happens? Huh? Yeah. You know what happens when you make fun of my best friend, Kevin Owens? And man, what a fun thing. It did take on a life of its own. It was the most, the most, maybe the most over thing for a time there.
Yeah.
Certainly the most fan engagement or interaction. I mean, the people really dug it. I mean, it got to the point where he would whip out that pen and people just would go nuts. It got so over, as a heel, Chris had to change it where he would be like, oh, you know what happens? Roman Reigns, you know what happens? What, do you think you're going to make the list? No, you don't deserve to make the list. and then he became a baby face,
Yeah.
and they would end the house shows with a Chris Jericho match, and then at the end of after the match, Chris would get on the microphone. He would put the whole city in, you know what happens, Phoenix? You know what happens? When you cheer for Chris Jericho, you just made the list. And then they sent him home happy. That was it. Like you end with the biggest fucking pop of the night, and that was it. So
Yeah.
it was a blast, man.
I'm of the belief during that time that the Owens Jericho storyline, I believe Owens was the champion at that time. I thought it should have main evented WrestleMania that year.
Yeah, that was definitely an option, and that's probably, it's hard to say. That was on my WrestleMania
Okay.
lineup, where all the writers have to write what they want WrestleMania to look like. That was my world title or universal title match for WrestleMania. But as is such in WWE, Brock Lesnar, Vince just loved Brock, and so it was kind of like whatever Brock wanted would happen. And I get the marquee behind doing Brock and Goldberg for the Universal title. I mean, that's, who would have ever thought that would happen again? And they had a good match too. You didn't know that was going to be awful or not.
Right.
When Kevin dropped the title to Goldberg the month before, it was just spear jackhammer finish.
Yeah.
And when Goldberg had won the title, it was just like spear jackhammer finish, something like that. And because nobody knew if Goldberg could do anything, and Kevin really wanted to have a proper match with Goldberg, at least a 2-minute match with Goldberg. Yeah. I don't think they wanted to risk exposing Goldberg. Yeah. And but it turned out him and Lesnar had a great match, and Chris and Kevin had I believe the United States Championship, I think, for their story. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. When you're applying to be a writer on a creative team at WWE, do you have to give a sample work? I know if you're going to for any job writing, you got to give a sample work, right?
Yeah, I went through a hiring process, or a process just like anybody else. I gave them my resume for whatever that is, IWA Mid-South World Champion, but whatever my actual resume. I am a college graduate, and I guess worked in TV on some level for years, and I had a phone interview and a sample. The sample I had to do, it wasn't like pen to paper writing per se. This was February of 2015, and so it was like Fast Break or something, whatever that.
Oh, Fastlane.
Fastlane, yeah, there you go. That pay-per-view was just about to happen, so my assignment was to basically go from Fastlane to WrestleMania, pick my top 5 WrestleMania matches and just kind of show the stories and the route to get there, and then the Raw after or something like that, I think.
Nice. Who was good at main event your WrestleMania?
Well, we already knew that Lesnar and Roman Reigns was already set as the main event of WrestleMania.
Okay.
The way I had it was, I think it was Lesnar over, and then I had a story with Lesnar and Dean Ambrose going into WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
And so afterwards, Dean Ambrose comes out, attacks Lesnar, and then Seth Rollins comes out with his Money in the Bank.
Oh, cashes in.
And the 3 of them give Lesnar the whatever,
The triple
the
power,
Shield
yeah.
triple power bomb. Seth wins 1, 2, 3, and you go and you leave WrestleMania with this holy shit moment. Did we just see a Shield reunion? But it turns out we don't, and whatever follow up for it. But you had the Roman being upset because he lost. You had Dean Ambrose upset because Lesnar had like stretcher jobbed him a couple weeks before that. You have Seth who has the money in the bank. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend,
Yeah.
or something like that. The
That
enemy of
would've-
my friend. So all three of them have this fucking holy shit moment, and you go off with the sort of cliffhanger.
Right.
And,
Like
so-
they're together, but are they together now? Like what
Yeah.
just happened? You know, I like that. Let's jump to what you're doing now. You're with Impact. You're writing and producing. You host the. I watch my Impact Wrestling on Twitch. I don't have access, and you do a show after the show is live. You do it with Don Callis, and I'm sorry, but I forget the name of it. It's called
Aftershock.
Thank you, Aftershock. I knew it was something of that nature. Is Impact the best company that nobody knows about right now? Because I feel it is.
I mean, to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, look, the competition is really stiff out there. You know,
Yeah.
AEW doing their thing, and they've got such a large platform. I think we've done a really good job in the last, almost 3 years now, 2.5 years. When I came on board in the end of 2017, then going into 2018, when Scott Demore took over and brought in Don Callis, I think a lot of the goal was just to, especially that first year, to make, TNA had such a stink on it. There was so much damage to the brand,
Yep.
and just making the show a show that's not embarrassing to watch.
No.
Something where you go, yeah, man, and you can watch it and feel good about it. And I think we've gone from that to, I don't think anybody else tells the week to week cohesive stories that we do. WWE, it's all about what happens tonight, and that's it. What happened last week doesn't matter. What happens, it's just like, it's Vince is a promoter. That's what you have to understand about Vince. It's like when you go, oh, this didn't make sense from this week, you go, it's like, because Vince isn't a TV writer. He's a promoter, and it's all about what can I put on the bill tonight that's going to get people to watch right now, like bang. And so that's what WWE is. So it's not about sort of long-term cohesive storytelling. I haven't seen a ton of AEW. Watched a little bit of it when it first came out, but what I saw when it first came out was just a lot of in-arena stuff.
Yep.
And that's fine. I get that if you want that to be your brand, is like wrestling. But Impact has good in-ring action, with all these talented in-ring performers, but also good, cohesive, interesting, I think, storytelling week to week, and done in different manners. Not everything isn't just in the ring. We do cinematic stuff.
Yeah.
We do a lot of backstage stuff, and just a lot of stories that are just, some of them are fun, and some of them are dark and have supernatural stuff, and some of them are, gangs fighting in the streets, and some of it is a blood feud in the ring, or who's the best wrestler in the ring, and all sorts of stuff. We just did Wrestle House, which was 12 wrestlers trapped in a house together, reality show style, and they would settle their differences in the ring. And so things like that. So there's a lot of different avenues for storytelling that will take. You get a little bit of something. It's a good 3-ring circus, I think. And I think the performers are really good. And credit to Don and Scott for having the consistency to tell proper stories on the show, and to bring the company from being something that was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
The first show I came in at, we were still finishing up Jeff Jarrett's stories, and some of them were not good. It was not good. It was not good stuff. And so they were doing like this like MMA versus pro wrestling story, which did not seem to click to me.
Is there ever a thought to just like, so you come in and you have Jeff Jarrett's stories that you got to finish up, but is there ever a thought to just tear all that up and just be like, look, here's what happened, boom, we're gonna blow it up and we're starting over?
Well, no, that, like, so when I came in, it was Bound for Glory 2017. So Jeff's stories were already like,
almost
they
done.
were basically finishing up.
Yeah.
And then the next whatever X amount of weeks of TVs were I think also his. And then we started, the first creative, in the creative process that was a part of. I was producing on the other shows and on air performing, but not writing the TV. That started it with the tapings that were in January of 2018. And so, I don't think it's a matter of blowing it up and ripping up the script. I mean, Vince Russo is sort of famous for doing that in WCW, having these resets or whatever. And I think it takes a little more, ingenuity and creativity to go, okay, how do we transition from here? How do we not insult the fans' intelligence from here to here? How do we take them from this one thing and have it flow in to this other thing? And that's what we tried to do.
Yeah. It's great. I love everything with Impact right now, and I know everybody always rants and raves, and they should, because the ladies on NXT, the ladies up on the main rosters of Raw and SmackDown, they're great. They're great people, but you can't overlook, to me, you cannot overlook the women wrestlers in Impact right now. I think it's one of the strongest divisions not only you guys have, but women wrestling across the board. And it's all great stuff over there right now.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm really happy with the roster we have right now, and credit to Anthem, which owns Impact, for investing in the product as well. When I first came in there, the roster, nothing against the guys, because there was some good talent there, but it was so depleted. Well, I think when I came there was literally 2 tag teams. It was LAX and OVE, and that was it. And there was maybe like 5 or 6 knockouts there. That was it. And now we've got I think 13 knockouts. And you got, Kylie Ray, which was a huge get for us. I think she's mega talented, both her character and as an in-ring performer. Deonna Purrazzo is our current knockouts champion, who won it from Jordan Grace, who did amazing. We took it from Taya Valkyrie, who really came into her own during a year-long title run. I mean, her character is just amazing, and she does stuff with Rosemary. And then you have Kiera Hogan, who teams with Tasha Steelz, and I think Kiera's a star as well. And so not to leave out the other ones, but I think it's it's a really solid roster. I'm happy to get to work with them.
Yeah, it's all great stuff over there, man. I love my Impact. But anyways, Mr. Jacobs, what we like to do at the end of every show, I feel like we could go literally all night. I mean, I didn't even scratch the surface on my notes, but what I like to do at the end of every show is I hand the mic over to my guest. It's your show now. You have the platform. You can say anything you want, Barry, anything you want. You can do whatever you want. I will not interrupt you, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, geez. I guess if I have something to say to people right now, I'm in this transition phase in my life where, I got back on social media. I took a 7-month break because it was just, consuming my life. Not just, it was as the time suck, right?
Yep.
And I got back on because I was called to share some of my experiences with people. And I spent the last 3 years really working on, self-development, self-discovery, that sort of thing. And so I'm really called to try to share some of those tools with people. There's so much. My journey inwards has been so much more exciting and rewarding than my journey in pro wrestling, the journey of self-discovery, the journey of self-improvement. And I think I would recommend to anybody to go down that road. We all have this unnecessary suffering in our life, and we don't know why. And if you never do the work to figure out why, the suffering will continue. And it will, because whether you know it or not, your subconscious runs the show, right? And if you don't know it, it definitely runs the show. And so we create these patterns in our life that is pulled by this invisible string called the unconscious. And unless you bring light to that, it will continue to hold power. So the greatest thing you can do for this world is to work on yourself, is to become the best version of you can be, and that takes work, and it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant to unpack a lot of stuff, and much like cleaning a house, it gets messier before it gets cleaner. But the work has been so gratifying. So if anybody wants to share in that experience with me, I'm on social media, Twitter at Jimmy Jacobs X, as well as Instagram. And I don't know, when is this going to air?
Well, we're live now on Twitch.
Oh, we're live now.
Yeah, we're live now on
Great.
Twitch, and we'll push it out to YouTube. Whatever the time allows me tomorrow, I'll get it out on YouTube.
Right. So on Sunday, tomorrow, September 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do a Instagram live for people that want to come and get support with some issues that are going on in their life, and whatever support I can be to them, whatever tools and knowledge I can pass on that has been beneficial to me, I'm gonna pass on to those people. And yeah, man, I think our world, it doesn't. You don't need to look far to see that there's a lot of things that are a mess.
Yeah.
And there's sort of two trains of thought. You can say, hey, well, that mess is somebody else's responsibility, and I'm going to vote somebody in and they're going to clean up the mess. Or you can say, well, this mess is all our messes, and I'm going to try to take as much responsibility as I can for whatever your passion is. And I see a lot of people are passionate about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you can go in the streets and you can yell about it, and that's fine. And that's one way to do it. And, or you can go, how can I be of service to people? How can, if you're concerned about people that are less fortunate, you go, how, what skill set do I have that I can help empower those people to better their lives? And if you don't have a skill set, you go, well, I don't know. I don't have a skill set. I don't have resources. You go, well, yeah, that's why you get your life together. So you can get those resources and you can get that knowledge and you can pass that knowledge on, and you can, whatever your passion is. If your passion is go, yeah, there's global warming happening, and well, they got to make regulations about it, otherwise it's never going to happen. It's go, well, if you leave it up to somebody else,
right,
guess what? You're just going to roll the dice. But if you want to be the person, you go, well, what does it mean to live in communion with Mother Earth? How do I do that? How do I put my money where my mouth is? How do I walk like I talk? And that's what I'm trying to figure out in my life right now. This isn't me saying I'm better than anybody else. I'm trying to figure out. That's why I'm doing, this stuff on social media to pass on whatever I have to be of support of people. But you go, how do I live in communion with Mother Earth? How do I stop supporting the corporations that are damaging her? How do I do that? How do I become a living embodiment of the change that I want to see in this world? How do I become an example of it? And then once I'm an example, I can be a leader for it. And that's what I think our lives are all about.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it more and more clearly that as we outsource responsibility to other people, we are in corporations and the government, we are making a deal with the devil, going, yeah, you take care of it because I like this convenience I have in my life. Or you can take the power back from your life. You can stop giving power to other things, the people in your life, what other people think of you, your past, all this sort of stuff. You can take back this power, and with that power comes responsibility, and you can bear the load of responsibility for being the change you want to see in this world. And that's what I feel passionate about. And right now, my role in it is just to go, hey, if you're struggling with anxiety, here's some tools to work through that. If you don't know how to manage your emotions, here's some tools to work through that. If you get triggered by this or that, here's how to work through that. I think one of the most important things people can learn is to not be basically triggered by things, and understand that the external world does not cause you to feel emotions. Only your perception of it does. and and thus, like I've eliminated this language from my vocabulary. People say things like, "You made me mad." It's like, no, you didn't. You didn't make me anything. As much as I would love
Yeah.
to control somebody else's emotions, I actually don't have the capability to do that. You can allow me to. When you say you made me mad, what you're doing is you're handing me the strings to you, and you're going, my emotions are going to are you're just going to play me like a puppet. So whatever you do, if you say these words, I'm going to get angry, and when I'm angry, then I'm going to act out of that anger. And understanding how destructive it is to act out of your emotions and to be triggered like it's okay to be triggered by something, but when then you act out of that emotion, then you are letting other people pull your strings. And understand that that's going on in your lives probably a lot.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in your lives.
Yep.
Not just from a personal level, but it happens from a larger level, and we see it all the time. We see it from our media that they use fear in order to have us go, oh man, this is dangerous. This is people flew towers into flew planes into the Twin Towers. We better give up our rights. Oh, there's a virus going on. Oh yeah, we'll close our businesses. We'll stay inside. We'll put on a mask. And look, I'm not talking legitimacy or illegitimacy of those things. I'm only talking about the fear, and then the fear response that induces, and then acting out of that fear. It's okay to see something and go, all right, this is bad. This is dangerous. Now, how do I use reason, use discernment to move forward, as opposed to acting out of that emotional space? And you start to see that our emotions are manipulated constantly. Anytime there's something on the TV or internet that tells me why I should be angry, or why I should be afraid, or why I should be, mad at somebody else, I go, red flag right there.
Yeah.
Like I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing the game of you tell me how to feel. And once you start to see that that's the game, and that is the game, that's all you see it. You see it, oh great. It's like I can't see these headlines without going, oh, you're just telling me how to feel. That's all that's going on here. Great. Okay. Now I know who to listen to and what not to listen to, and starting to use my discernment and going, okay, that's one perspective. Here's another perspective. Here's another perspective. Here's another perspective. Here's another perspective. How do I, do my own research and use my own knowledge, and then act out of discernment, as opposed to acting out of the emotion that was propagated
Yep.
by these things around me. And that happens all the time. And so I feel it's so important that people need to learn to manage their emotions. And that's just something I'm trying to do. And so these are my tangents, these are my rants, but you said I get to say what I want.
Yes, that's right. I did. I love tangents. I love tangents. I get on them all the time. And that was right. That was your forum, and it was great. Jimmy Jacobs, man, I didn't even scratch the surface. We could do this all night. I would love to have you back, man. I love your passion, your beliefs, your thoughts, your creativity in the wrestling business. I mean, besides everything else, man, is great. I just want to say thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for giving us the time, and it's been a pleasure, man. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. And just let me say that this one last final thing. Just understand that if anybody that might have heard what I said and maybe disagreed with it, maybe they got angry over it or experienced anger over it or something like that, just understand that I just have a perspective, and I'm probably wrong in a lot of what I see things as is just my current perspective. And ultimately, what I want is the best thing for everybody.
Yeah.
And this is just my point of view. So if you're listening and you go, oh, that was bullshit what he said, that's okay.
Yep.
It might have been bullshit what I said. Don't take it as an attack on you. It's not. If you want the best for everybody, then you and I want the same thing. We're not on different teams. We're on the same team, just looking at it from a different perspective. And I really believe we need to start to see other people in that light, in the light of, hey man, we're actually, most people want the best for everybody, and we're just looking at it from different point of views, and stop fighting against each other and seeing, hey, we're just on the same team, looking at it from a different angle. That's it. That's all.
Awesome.
We're all one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And yeah, you have carte blanche, man. You can come on anytime. Have yourself a great night.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, later. Oh, that was awesome.
This guy's called the Standing Streamer. I have the balls to say things that nobody else has the balls to say. The champ is here!